Hello and welcome to a Thanksgiving special of Craig Biddle Live. First, let me extend a huge Thanksgiving thank you to all of you and a happy Thanksgiving. It's a few hours early, but that's our topic today. So I hope you are planning for a fabulous celebration with people you love to think about and celebrate the abundance that we all have at our disposal. That's what this holiday is about, and I want to focus on some of the principles involved in thinking about and appreciating and enjoying this holiday to the fullest. I absolutely love Thanksgiving. It is one of my favorite holidays. I think 4th of July is up there with it, but Thanksgiving is certainly one of my top. But I also love the entire series of winter holidays that we have here in America. Thanksgiving, followed by Christmas, followed by New Year's. And I've said it before, and I'll just repeat it briefly here. It's as if Ayn Rand and Jean-Baptiste Say had put their heads together and said, what would be a good series of holidays to hold, to celebrate the good things in life? Thanksgiving celebrates production, the whole idea that you have to produce goods in order to survive and thrive. Christmas celebrates the consumption of goods and the spending of money on yourself and on friends and on loved ones in giving presents, and so it's the corollary to the production aspect. And then, of course, New Year's is all about renewal and self-improvement. And so, or in objectivist terms, the virtue of pride, moral ambitiousness. It's a new year. I want to figure out ways to improve my life and make things even better. Hopefully, the last year was wonderful, and the next year will be even better. And so, these three holidays together, I think, are just beautiful. It really is a celebration of the three things that really matter in life: production, consumption, and self-improvement, and all of the aspects that are involved in those three things. But I want to focus today primarily on Thanksgiving and talk about what this holiday is, what it's celebrating, what it should celebrate, and then focus on a few principles that I think are really important to drive home the way that we think about this holiday and the way that we celebrate it. To begin with, obviously, the history of Thanksgiving is about, the holiday originated with the idea of thanking God or the Creator for the abundance that He has rained on us. And that, granted, was the original idea behind the holiday. But that idea doesn't make any sense, and most people realize that, even if they won't acknowledge it. It doesn't make any sense, and there are at least two principles that we can point to about why that idea doesn't make sense. And these two principles are to some extent controversial, but everybody kind of gets them on a certain level. And those are that, first of all, there's no evidence for the existence of a God, which is why no one has ever presented it. So the onus of proof comes into play here, the onus of proof principle, which is that if you're going to assert that something is true, the burden is on you to present evidence in support of it. If you think God created the abundance around here that we all enjoy, then we want to see evidence to that effect. And of course, no one can provide that. And the second point is that the whole idea of a creator of the universe doesn't make any sense for multiple reasons, but the one that trumps everything is simply that if a creator had to exist to create the universe, where did he exist before he created the universe? There was no place to exist. No place to exist, you can't be there. Moreover, if the premise is that somebody had to exist to create the universe, then somebody had to exist to create the creator, and you get an infinite regress, which doesn't make any sense. So those principles throw the whole idea of a God who created things that we're supposed to thank on Thanksgiving out the window. And now I grant the tradition may stay intact in some people's minds, but we don't want to throw out the idea of Thanksgiving along with the idea that, some God created all these things, because there is an abundance around us. We do have all sorts of things at our disposal that make our lives wonderful. And so there's definitely something to celebrate here, and there's definitely someone to thank for these things. And I want to home in on that today and talk about those elements. So if we're not going to thank God for the abundance that we have, who should we thank? Well, before we turn to who we should thank, let's look at what we're thanking for. So if we look around the world, and if we look at our lives and the things that we have access to, everything from incredible options for food when you walk into the supermarket. There's all sorts of beef and chicken and everything from duck breast to salmon. And all of this is brought in and made available to you and to me and to everyone we associate with on a regular basis. And it constantly gets better. It's just more and more and better and better. Travel. We can travel all over the place in relative split seconds compared to what people used to have to do to travel. You can get across the United States in a few hours. You can travel to countries around on the other side of the globe in just under a day. And so we can travel all over the place. We can order things from all over the world. You can get online and punch in whatever you want at Amazon.com, and you can have it in 24 hours, 48 hours delivered to your door. So we've got shopping and shipping. You need good dentistry. You can call up and have your teeth replaced or cleaned, cavities filled. You get a horrific disease like cancer. There's a very good chance that this can be cured. There's chemotherapy. There's all sorts of goods and services, and we could just go on and on and on. Just walk out your door and look around, and the abundance is clear. So where did all this stuff come from? How did it get here? Who is responsible for the fact that we have access to all of this? And this brings us to the relatively terse answer: the producers, the people who produce these goods and services. And that would be you and me and many of the people that we know. And then there are the super producers, the people who come up with new ideas that literally change the entire globe. The Steve Jobses and the Jeff Bezos and people on that order of productive genius and capacity. So we do have an abundance, and it's quite clear where that abundance comes from. It comes from human beings using their mind, coming up with new ideas, taking risks to start new ventures, and deliver these goods to us, usually at the cheapest and in the highest quality that they can. At least in a free market, that's what happens. To the extent that markets are free, people try to deliver the goods as inexpensively as possible and with the highest quality possible, because that keeps competition out. So that's how quality goes up and prices come down. So all of these goods are here, and they got here because producers created them. And so there are two principles here that I want to work into this. Productiveness is an absolute essential. Productiveness is what makes human life possible. People using their minds to turn the raw materials of nature into the things that can enable us to live and flourish is the process of productivity or productiveness. And the virtue involved here is just that, productiveness. It's the choice to use your mind and to produce goods. And it's not easy to do that. It's easy to do it on simple levels, but it's very difficult to do it at the highest levels. So then we want to look at another principle that's related. If these things are relatively difficult to do and people are doing them, who should get credit for the production of those goods and the fact that we have access to them? Well, the principle of justice says that the people who produced the goods should get credit. The people who took the risks, put in the time, did the thinking, pulled together the business plan and the team and the financing, and made these things available to us. So at the big level of productive genius, we have the people who produce, come up with the idea of an airplane and the possibility of creating them, the Wright brothers. You have people who produce air conditioning, so Carrier. You have people who produce companies that change the way that we are able to purchase goods and services, Jeff Bezos, and so on and so forth. And these people are the people who deserve our thanks on Thanksgiving. But it's also important to remember that the people around us who deliver goods and services to us on a regular basis, the people we do business with, our friends, our family members, these are the people who really matter to us, who actually have done wonderful, beautiful things that have changed our lives for the better and enhanced our lives in myriad ways. Why would we ignore them on the holiday of Thanksgiving and thank an imaginary guy in the sky instead? No, that's wrong. That's an act of injustice. We should thank the people who we know are responsible for the quality of life that we have. And that, at the personal level, is usually the people right there in the room with you. It's your friends, your family, the people you love, the people who have produced the values right at the immediate level that you are enjoying and that make your life wonderful. So I appeal to you on principle to think about this wonderful holiday in terms of causality, in terms of who produced the goods and services on which our lives and our flourishing depend. And turn to those people at Thanksgiving and say, you know what? Thank you. This beautiful life that we live today is largely because of people like you who have made an effort to be productive and to trade and to share the values that you produce with the people you love and the people you care about. So I think that's a really rational and proper way to think about this holiday. Now, just a few words on the controversy of this kind of point. This shouldn't even be controversial if you think about it, because I'm just saying, look, let's thank the people who actually produce the values. But it is controversial for reasons we all know. So here's how I suggest handling this with family members and friends and maybe coworkers who don't like the idea of saying, look, I'm not so interested in thanking an imaginary guy in the sky. I'd like to thank the people who actually produce the goods. And here's the way I look at it. We all have free will. So this is the other principle that applies here. Everyone has to make a choice on this matter and on all other matters about how you're going to handle it. You can either look at the facts and go by what makes sense, or you can buckle down and dig your heels in and say, I'm not going to do that. I refuse. And some people will do that. And there's nothing that we can do to force them to think about this holiday or anything else in terms of principle. And you shouldn't even try. It's not worth it. It's not worth the family disturbance. It's not worth the trouble. The arguments just aren't worth it, particularly on a holiday. So the way that I recommend handling it is you just treat the holiday rationally on your own terms. You sit down. It's time to say grace. People want to thank God. When they're done, you say, I'd like to say a few words about justice as well here. And then, thank the people at the table. Thank the people who actually produce the goods. And don't get into arguments about it. Respect the fact of free will and the fact that people have to make their own choices on this. But exercise your own free will and your own rationality in thinking about this and decide how you're going to handle it. Decide whether you're going to treat this holiday in a just way and thank the people who really deserve to be thanked and make the holiday the beautiful holiday that it can and should be on those grounds, or whether you're going to stick with the traditional stuff that just frankly doesn't make any sense. I know what I'm going to do. I think most of you know what you're going to do, and it's probably in the same vein. In any event, I want to thank you, all of you producers out there, everyone who is using his mind or her mind to produce values and to make this world the fabulous, just value-laden place that it is. Could it be better? Yes. More freedom would make it so. But even as it is, we live in the best of times and with the greatest amount of abundance. And the reason is because of people like you who produce. So thank you and happy Thanksgiving.